Hello students, my name is Niyati Saeed and thanks for watching Edupedia Word videos. My topic for the presentation is the second section of the Structural Organization chapter. Okay, and my topic for the presentation is Earthworm. We'll study its morphology and anatomy. Okay, morphology means study of external appearances and anatomy means study of internal structures. Okay, so earthworm is a tube shaped segmented worm which is found in the phylum Annelida. They are commonly found living in soil and thus it feeds on live and dead organic matter. Okay, see, it's a tube-shaped segmented worm which is found in the phylum Annelida. Remember students, we have already studied phylum Annelida in the animal kingdom chapter. Okay, they are commonly found living in soil and thus they feed on live and dead organic matter. Its digestive system, it runs throughout the length of its body. It conducts respiration through the skin. An earthworm has a double transport system which is composed of coelomic fluid that moves within the fluid-filled coelom. Coelom means cavity, and a simple closed blood circulatory system is found in earthworms. It has a central and a peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system, it consists of two ganglia above the mouth, one on the either side connected to the nerve cord, and thus it runs back along its length to the motor neurons in each segment. Okay, so it belongs to the Annelida. So this was all about, I have given you the brief about the earthworm. Now come to here that it belongs to the phylum Annelida. Class is Oligochaeta and genus is Pharynthema and the species is Posthuma. So earthworm is a reddish brown terrestrial invertebrate that inhabits the upper layer of the moist soil, and during the daytime they live in burrows made by boring and swallowing the soil. The common Indian earthworm is Pharynthema and Lumbricus. Remember, please note it down that two common Indian earthworm species are Pharynthema and Lumbricus. Okay. Now let's see its morphology. Their first segment is known as this conical shaped segment is known as peristomium or buccal segment that bears the mouth. Okay, it bears the mouth. A low prostomium, it covers the mouth. Prostomium is the one that covers the mouth. Okay, prostomium is a sensory in function. It is very sensitive and it is sensory in function and it is used to force open cracks in the soil into which the earthworm crawl. That means it makes a passage inside the soil. Okay, now what is this? This is clitellum. This is the dorsal side, and what are these? These are segment-like structures are clitellum. Okay, and this is the ventral side. So ventral side they have setae, small hairy like limbs you can say, and these are clitellium where the female genital aperture, male genital aperture is seen. Remember students that earthworms are hermaphrodite. That means each individual it carries both male and female sex organs. They lack either an internal skeleton or exoskeleton but maintain their structure with fluid filled coelom chambers that function as a hydrostatic skeleton. Okay, and these are the genital papillae, and these are your, you can say, transverse grooves or the annuli. Okay, and So you can say that it has a long segmented cylindrical body, and the number of the segments are around 100 to 120 metamers are there. Okay, and the dorsal surface has a dark median mid dorsal line, which we call it as a dorsal blood vessel along the longitudinal axis of the blood. Okay. So what are clitellum and all? In a mature worm segment, there are around 14 to 16 which are covered by a dark band of the glandular tissue, which we call it as clitellum. So this is your clitellum, and the earthworm body is divided into three. First is your pre-clitellar, clitellar, and post-clitellar. So this is your pre-clitellar, this is your clitellar, and this is your post-clitellar. Okay, and the four pairs of the supramethical apertures are also found on the ventrolateral sides of the intersegmental grooves. Which are those intersegmental grooves? Fifth and ninth. Fifth to ninth segments, it is also known as intersegmental grooves. Okay, and these are your supramethical apertures. Okay, that is your female genital aperture and the male genital aperture, and that's the reason they are hermaphrodite. That means they are bisexual in nature. Okay. Now, a single female genital pore is present in the mid-ventral line of the 14th segment. This is your 14th segment. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. Except this, okay, because this is your prostomium, buccal segment. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is your 14. So this is your single female genital pore which is present in the mid-ventral line of the 14th segment. This is your 14th segment. Okay, and only one genital pore is found here, and that is of female genital aperture. Okay, and a pair of male genital apertures are seen, which is present on the ventrolateral sides of the 18th segment. So this was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so these are your male genital pores which are present in the form of pairs. Okay, in the ventrolateral sides of the 18th or 19th segment. Now, many minute nephridiopores, they open on the body surface. Which are those nephridiopores? All the segments except the first, last, and the clitellum, they bear S-shaped setae. These are your setae, ring of setae. These are your setaes. Okay, which are embedded in the epidermal pits, and their function is that they help earthworm in locomotion. Okay, they help in locomotion or the movement. Now comes anatomy. We have already studied morphology. Now comes the anatomy. Anatomy means the study of the internal structures of the earthworm. Okay, so it is composed of the outermost thin non-cellular cuticle. Okay, it composed of a non-cellular cuticle. And epidermis is made up of a single layer of the columnar epithelial cell which contains secretory gland cells, and two muscle layers, that is circular and longitudinals, are found in body wall of earthworm. Okay, and the innermost is known as cavity. Cavity is also known as coelom. So this is your cross section, which is the outer one is your cuticle, which is non-cellular in nature, and then comes inner to cuticle, then comes epidermis, which is made up of a single layer of the columnar epithelial cell which contains secretory gland cells. Okay, and two muscle cells are found. Which are those two cells? First is your longitudinal muscle and the circular muscle. Okay, and what is this? This is your this red one is your dorsal vessel. This is your intestine. These are your nephrostomes. This is your nerve cord. Okay, and these are your setae which help in the locomotion. Okay, and what is this? This is your metanephridium. Okay, Now comes digestive system. As we know that the digestive system is partitioned into many regions, each with a certain function. The digestive system, it consists of a pharynx, okay, esophagus, crop, intestine and gizzard. Okay, so digestive system, it consists of pharynx, esophagus, crop, intestine and gizzard. Food such as soil, it enters the earthworm mouth where it is swallowed by the pharynx. Then the soil, it passes through the esophagus, which has caloriferous glands that release calcium carbonate to rid the earthworm's body of excess calcium. That means to get rid of the excess calcium from the body, caloriferous glands are there, okay, which are present in the esophagus. After it passes through the esophagus, the food now moves into the crop, where it is stored and then eventually moves into the gizzard. Gizzard, it uses stones that the earthworm eats to grind the food completely. I repeat, the gizzard, it uses stones that the earthworm eats to grind the food completely. The food moves into the intestine as a gland cells in the intestine, and thus it releases fluid to aid in the digestive process. The intestinal wall contains blood vessels where the digestive food is absorbed and transported to the rest of the body. Okay, I hope it's clear to all of you. Now I'm again explaining that the digestive system of the earthworm is partitioned into many regions, each with a certain function. So the straight alimentary canal, it extends from the first to the last segment of the body. It has a terminal mouth. This is your terminal mouth, which is present in the prostomium. Remember, students? Then this is your first to three segment. This is consist of buccal cavity or the mouth. And then comes muscular pharynx. This is your pharynx, okay? And now comes esophagus. After pharynx comes esophagus. It is in the 5th to 7th segment. It is present into the 5th to 7th segment. And then comes gizzard. This is your gizzard, okay, which is present in the 8th to 9th segment. And then comes a stomach, which is present in the 9th to 14th segment. And then comes intestine. This is your pre-typhosolar part of the intestine. Just know that, don't go into detail, okay, but for the time being, just know that it is a intestine. It's just a part of the intestine, okay. And then comes the anus, okay. So the gizzard, as I have told you that the digestive system, it consists of the pharynx, esophagus, gizzard, crop and stomach, okay. And food such as soil, it enters the earthworm mouth where it is swallowed by the pharynx, okay. It is swallowed by the pharynx. Then the soil passes through the esophagus to the where calciferous glands are present that release calcium carbonate to rid the earthworm's body of excess calcium. After it passes through the esophagus, once it passes through the esophagus, the food moves into the crop, okay. Crop is not mentioned here, but it moves to the crop and where it is stored, and then eventually moves into the gizzard, okay. This is your gizzard. And then the gizzard, it uses stones that the earthworm eats to grind the food completely. And then the food moves into the intestine. This is your intestine, where as gland cells in the intestine, it release fluid to aid in the or to help in the digestive process. And the intestinal walls, this is your intestine, and the intestinal walls, it contains blood vessels where the digested food is absorbed and transported to the rest of the body, okay. pair of the intestinal CK are also present, which project from the intestine on the 26th segment. This is your 26th segment. Okay. And the intestinal part between 26 to 35, this is a 26 to 35 segment, has an internal median fold of dorsal wall, which we call it as typhosole. It increases area of absorption. Remember students, pre-typhosolar part of the intestine, that it increases the area of absorption. The ingested organic rich soil is digested in the digestive tract with the help of digestive enzymes, and the digestive nutrients, they are absorbed through intestinal membranes. Their fecal deposits are also known as worm castings. Okay. Now comes circulatory system. Another important organ system is the circulatory system, which is present in earthworm. The earthworm has a closed circulatory system. An earthworm, it circulates blood exclusively through blood vessels. There are three main vessels that supply blood to organs within the earthworm. These vessels are aortic arches, dorsal blood vessels, and ventral blood vessels. The aortic arches, they function like a human heart. There are 5 pairs of aortic arches which have the responsibility of pumping blood into the dorsal and the ventral blood vessels. The dorsal blood vessels, they are responsible for carrying blood to the front of the earthworm's body. And the ventral blood vessels, they are responsible for carrying blood to the back of the earthworm's body. Okay, it carries blood to the back of the earthworm's body. Okay. Now, as I have told you that there are circulatory system which is closed time, and it consists of a blood vessels, capillaries, and heart. And blood glands are present on the 4th, 5th, and the 6th segment, which produce phagocytic blood vessels and hemoglobin, which is dissolved in blood plasma. Okay. Now comes respiratory system. No specialized system is there in the earthworms. Earthworms do not have lungs. They breathe through their skin. Oxygen and the carbon dioxide, they pass through the earthworm skin by diffusion. For diffusion to occur, the earthworm skin must be kept moist all the time. The body fluid and the mucus is released to keep its skin moist. Earthworm therefore need to be in a damp or moist soil. This is one of the reasons why they usually surface at night, when it is possible to cooler and evaporating potential of the air is low. Okay. Earthworms, they have developed the ability to detect light even though they cannot see. They have tissues located at the earthworm's head which is sensitive to light, and these tissues, they enable an earthworm to detect light and not surface during the daytime where they could be affected by the sun. Okay. Now comes the excretory system. What happens in excretory system? A funnel-shaped part of the nephridium, it collects excess fluid from the coelom, and the funnel connects with the tubular part of the nephridium, which delivers the waste into the digestive tube. Okay, as you can see in this diagram, that it has ducts of the pharyngeal nephridia, then comes the tufts of the pharyngeal nephridia. Okay. So the funnel, it connects with the tubular part of the nephridium, which delivers the waste into the digestive tube. Okay. Now comes nervous system. It includes segmentally arranged ganglia on the ventral paired nerve cord. The nerve cord in the anterior region, it is present in the 3rd or 4th segment. It divides and encircles the pharynx and joins the cerebral ganglia dorsally to form a nerve ring. Okay, and the nerve ring with the cerebral ganglia, it represents the brain. And the sensory system, it includes light and touch sensitive receptor cells. No eyes are present. Okay, and chemoreceptors are also present, which react to the chemical stimuli. Now comes the reproductive system. As we know that earthworms, they are hermaphrodite, where each earthworm contains both male and female sex organs. The male and the female sex organs can produce sperm and egg respectively in each earthworm. Although earthworms are hermaphrodite, most need a mate to reproduce. During mating, two worms, they line up inverted from each other so sperm can be exchanged. The earthworm each have two male openings and two sperm receptacles, which they take in the sperm from the another mate. Okay, and the earthworm, they have a pair of the ovaries that they produce eggs. The clitellum will form a slim tube around it, which will fill with an albuminous fluid, and the earthworm will move forward out of the slim tube. As the earthworm passes through the slim tube, the tube will pass over the female pore, and thus it picks up the eggs. The tube will continue to move down the earthworm, and thus it passes over the male pore called as sperm theca, which has stored sperm called as spermatozoa. Okay, the eggs will then fertilize there, and the slim tube will close off. As the worm moves completely out of the tube, and the slim tube will form an egg cocoon and be put into the soil, and the fertilized egg will develop and will become a young earthworm. Okay, I hope it's clear to all of you, but again I am repeating that it has two pair of testes, and which is present on the 10th and 11th segment. There is a vasa difference is also present, which run up to the 18th segment, where they join prostatic duct, and there are two pair of the accessory glands are also present, which are present in the 17th and the 19th segment. And the common prostate and the spermatic duct, it opens to the exterior by the pair of male genital pore, which I have told you just now. Okay, and there are four pairs of the spermatheca are also present, which are located in 6th to 9th segments. They receive and store spermatozoa during copulation. Okay, and now comes the female part. A pair of the ovaries are present in the 12th to 13th segment, and ovaries, it has ovarian funnels, oviduct, and they join together, open as a single median, and female genital pore is present in the 14th segment. During mating, what happens, I have told you that they just mate in the juxtaposition, opposite gonadal openings, they exchange the spermatophores, which we also call it as packets of sperms. Mature sperm, they are deposited in the cocoon, and thus they produced by the glandular cells of the clitellum. Okay, and the fertilized ova, it deposits, or they put in the soil, and the cocoon, it holds the worm embryos. After 3 weeks, cocoon, it produces 2 to 20 young earthworms, but no larval stage is seen here. Okay, this is the juxtaposition, where they mate, and they mate in the opposite gonadal openings, and thus they exchange their spermatophores, which we call it as packet of sperms. Okay, now comes their economic importance. What is the economic importance of the earthworms? Earthworms, they help the environment. Earthworms, they are more than just fish bait. They are the main contributors to the enriching and improvising soil for plants, animals, and even humans. Earthworm, they create tunnels in the soil by burrowing, which aerates the soil to allow air, water, and nutrients to reach deep within the soil. Earthworm, they eat the soil which has organic matter such as decaying vegetation or leaves. Plants cannot use this organic matter directly. After organic matter is digested, the earthworm releases waste from their body, which we call it as worm casting. Casting contain many nutrients that a plant can use. Some people even use earthworm casting as garden fertilizers. Okay, so this is the economic importance that they help, or you can say that they are the friends of the farmers, and because they make burrows in the soil and thus it make it porous, which helps in the respiration and the penetration of the plant roots which are present deep inside the ground, and they help in vermicomposting also. This is a process of increasing fertility of soil. Okay, and they are used as a bait in the game fishing also. So this was all about the earthworm, about its digestive system, about its circulatory system, about its respiratory system, economic importance and all. So thank you and stay tuned and keep watching Edupedia Word.